But yeah, so I'm gonna tell you guys some stories. It'll be pretty cool. It's about when I went to Haiti, about five, actually even longer than that, maybe 5 6 years ago. I'm not sure exactly at this point. But if you guys are just here to watch my stream and learn, hey, here's how you make some silver, or you want to watch my enchanting go badly and laugh at how frustrated I get, this probably won't be your stream. This is going to be a little bit more meaningful, pretty impactful, and I'm going to share a portion of my life with you guys. As I found out that one of my friends, Swerve Live, is Haitian, which I thought was pretty dang cool. So I started telling him, I actually went down to Haiti. I went down to Haiti a while ago with kind of a mission trip. It was with the Caring House project created by Frank McKinney. If you don't know who Frank McKinney is, he's one of the only people in the world to create, what are they, nine-figure houses? I don't know. That's over 100 million houses, residential real estate, down in Delray Beach, Florida. And he takes his money and he then gives back to Haiti. He picked up a newspaper one day and he saw a picture of himself with this $100 million house. And he looked at the other side of the newspaper, and it had somebody being fed out of a homeless shelter. And that really, the dynamic aspect right there, really kind of struck a chord with him. And he started helping at various charities. And then later, after a few mission trips to Africa, he asked, is this, tell me more about this country. He was just out there learning on his mission trip. He found out that actually Haiti was the poorest country in the world. He said, why are we doing these support things in Africa and stuff? Like, let's go where the need is the greatest. And the mission trips that he was with, they didn't do that. They're like, no, Haiti is an extremely dangerous country. We don't go there. And so Frank McKinney, who's standing right here, he's got his crazy rock style hair. Just an amazing guy. I'll tell you all sorts of stuff about him. But just an amazing guy. All right, good, Swerve. I'm glad to hear that. He said, okay, well, I guess I will go. I will go to the poorest country in the world, and I will start making a difference. And he's done this for probably about 20 years now. And his charity, the Caring House Project, has 100% of all donations go to the people of Haiti. It's really cool. And it's a really long and interesting and fun story how I got connected with this guy. And I can tell you that another time, for sure. But regardless, I went down with him for his charity with 25 other real estate investors. And he has successfully, with his charity, built 10,000 homes for the homeless. So they go down, they get these houses built. It takes obviously a huge amount of time. And I went down there to do that with them. And we don't just build them and give them away. We actually go down there, and I've only gone down there one time, but we went down there and teach them pretty much this is how you mix cement, and this is how you build these blocks, this is how you shape the roof. And so you leave them with a finished product that we pay for, but we also give them a skilled job. So we pay them for their work, and then they use that time, they use that work to build these homes. And we worked with local churches, and our hands were off of it at that point. We were just like, you guys find the people that don't have homes and give them to them. And so the churches basically would find the homeless. And at the very end of the whole trip, it was pretty amazing. We would actually have the keys to the houses that we helped pay for, and hand them to the families. And I'm telling you guys, sure, they got a house out of it, but it did more for us than it did for them. Like, it absolutely changed my life in many, many ways. And this is an orphanage. This was Hope to Haiti. See this guy over here, Scott? He's a friend of mine now. I get to spend a lot of time with him. And he built this orphanage. He absolutely loves kids. And it's truly amazing just what he's been able to do. Now, some of these kids, like I said, guys, this is less of just a gaming stream today and more of just heartfelt story. If you guys are a little squeamish, this might not be something to watch right now. But there are a handful of these kids that were basically given up by their parents because they know that their parents literally just cannot feed them. And so the kids would go to this orphanage, and they would get whatever meager meals that they would get at this orphanage, which is a lot more than they would get otherwise. Let me tell you, people in Haiti, not just kids. Man, oh man, man, it's hard to even think about, but they chew on like structures, like I've seen them chew on wood to pretend like they're eating because they're starving to death. And the parents have given up their kids to this orphanage to like help them just get something. And even though some of them aren't orphans, they will not eat their meal because they're taking back like some crackers to share with, you know, a family of 6 people. And it's just, you know, it just pulls on your heartstrings so much. A lot of these people are orphans because of the earthquake, you know, lost both their parents, and the kids were just stranded and things like that. Absolutely, you know, just, I mean, mind-blowing, the experiences. Most of them had never seen toys before we got there. And, you know, one of the things that Frank McKinney liked to do was we actually took a backpack full of toys, like all sorts of little stuff, like just little things that would spin, and like hacky sacks and little planes and a frisbee, some beads, and each of us would sit down with a couple kids, and we got to completely choose just, you know, who we met, who we hung out with, how we spent our time. And as soon as I walked in, these little girls grabbed my arm. They just grabbed my arm. And I couldn't speak their language. They couldn't speak mine. They spoke Creole, and I spoke English, right? Creole is kind of a deviation of French, and but even though we couldn't actually communicate, they smiled at me. You know, I smiled at them, and you know, all they needed and all they wanted was love. They wanted to be picked up. They wanted to be held, and everybody understands that. You know, we didn't need words for that. So they'd ride around on my back for a little while, and you know, I'd run with them and stuff. And you know, I'd have this backpack, and you know, I'd take out a toy and I'd hand it to them, and just, guys, can you imagine a child that has literally never seen toys before now have something in front of them that they can spin, and you know, they can throw, and it kind of glides in the air, and they just had the most fun. You know, it was a fun day for us. It was a fun day for them. It was really cool. So this was at the orphanage. The H2H is the Hope to Haiti thing. That is different than the Caring House project. This is one of the houses, you guys. This is one of the houses that we had built. Now you might see this in America and be like, oh, you know, I wouldn't live there. Well, they used to live, you guys, in tires, and they used to live in mud and in garbage. And now we basically set up these concrete houses that still had windows that would keep out the weather. And it was a real danger that roofs would collapse on the families, you know, whenever there were major storms. And, you know, this is the house. It honestly, I think it's pretty fantastic. I think it's really cool. Surreal Nightmare, thanks a lot for that, man. So yeah, so, you know, here's one of the guys that lives in this house, and it would comfortably fit about eight people, 8 family members in something like this. So I forget how many rooms it had. Now this is something that's kind of miraculous, you guys. This is really cool. This right here is a playground that was built next to a village that Frank McKinney built. So these are the houses, right? So these are the kinds, and we'd set up clusters of like 20 or 30 houses, and we just kind of established villages all across Haiti. This, though, we didn't do. And when we went there, Frank McKinney looks around, he's like, what is happening? Why is there a basketball court now? And why are there slides? And there's all of this stuff, all of these structures. There were other charities, you guys, that saw what we did and then came and put their funds and their energy and their effort, and they took this village and they literally established this basketball court, and there were tennis courts, and it was absolutely amazing. You know, oftentimes American investors, but you know, a handful of European as well. And this is what I feel and find is like kind of the highest level of actualization. If you look at the Maslow like pyramid of self-image and things like that, you know, we don't need to be taxed so much so that we force the rich to lose all of their money, and then we reallocate that to the poor to level everybody out. So we give people with, you know, entitlement complexes, I deserve this, and the people that achieve are punished. You instead alleviate some of that, and then those people that have had the ability to earn have then the privilege and the ability and the funds to go and do this as they see fit. And then it's the altruism, right? Then it's not giving and charity by force of the government oppression. It's instead altruism from the people that want to give. And let me tell you, that gives you back the best feeling in the world. And that's why, people will do it. And this, I think, was a really, really cool thing, you guys, where this is one of the houses that was established about a year before we ended up getting there. And this is a garden, you guys. This is a garden. Now, most of Haiti is pretty desolate. But this is, I believe it was a woman's home here that she ended up just putting these stones here. She had some plants, and it's a humble little garden, but honestly, it just brought pride and joy to her heart. And it was really cool to see that. Now, this is what kind of the main streets look like outside of the capital. Okay, so Port-au-Prince is, in the capital down there, and even that, like, everything is pretty dangerous. You do need to be careful. And I mean, you can see this is like Wall Street to them in a lot of ways. It's a very different society. What we're looking at here is basically the biggest buildings that I found in Haiti. Like, they didn't really have buildings, which was the biggest thing that surprised me. Almost nowhere. They had an airport, and that's, about it. So this was called the Charcoal District. So the Charcoal District was, man oh man, basically everything was covered in kind of soot and ash and things like that. Garbage, people are actually, they would live in this. The tires were a lot of times people's beds. And you can see, I don't think it's in this picture, but goats, there was like a point where pigs, goats, dogs, and chickens were all eating the same garbage in like this one area. Yeah, so the Charcoal District, everything's pretty ash covered. This is basically, the homes that they would live in. Just, it would be fashioned out of almost anything, really. Man, oh man, some crazy stuff. I found this pretty interesting, you guys. Let's see. I should teach altruistic ideals to more wealthy people. This is really inspiring. Thanks for sharing. I'm glad it's inspiring. No worries. All right, so yeah, so aren't these interesting? You know what this is? This is a fence. This is a fence that the animals carry around with them. These are actually kind of pets, but also livestock that they would essentially use to breed the pigs and then later have food. We pretty much had to go down there. I say we, but I mean, like, as the mission trips went down and kind of explained basic things like, yes, you can kill this animal and you can have food today, or you can domesticate it, and over time it can give you offspring, and that offspring can then, feed your next generation or something. Not next generation, but feed you for a lifetime. And so this is kind of an act of domestication, where what they would do is they would plant little plants and cactus things around their yard, and with these giant sticks, it almost looks cruel, but it's not. It would stop the pigs from being able to leave. And so the pigs would like keep these fences on them, and that was actually how the animals lived. This is a village, so you can see the same kind of style of homes. They built their own well, which is really cool. And just these are the guys. So these are a few of my friends, you guys, other investors. I didn't know any of them until I went down there. So pretty cool. This guy right here, Yannick Silver. He is the owner of the Maverick 1000, which is an elite entrepreneur organization or association that only accepts you if you generate $2 million per year in your entrepreneur venture. I had a chance to get into it, not because I qualified, I didn't, but because I was good friends with Frank McKinney, and he put in a good word for me to be able to join this. Turns out, though, it was so expensive every month, I couldn't even get into it. I was eligible to get into it, which was like a high honor, but then I eventually had to be like, I literally cannot spend that money every month to be a part of your elite millionaire club. So I turned it down, but we became really good friends. Here's an example of how, when we were down there, we actually... Hello, Caution. How's it going? I guess we could turn those things off, too. We would not just build the houses for them. We would basically say, okay, so this is how you mix concrete. So when we left, they all had a practical skill. that they can then use, a marketable skill, and they could keep on building in their society. It was quite cool. So we left them with jobs. This is one of my favorite stories, you guys. This is quite fun, quite crazy, and I think you like this a lot. Okay, so this is Frank McKinney. This is Frank McKinney right here, guys. He came up with this game. He is a super fun personality, ultra charismatic, and just an awesome, great dude, you guys. Really cool. All right, so he came up with this idea where, let's see. This is such a funny encounter. So this village apparently had like one axe, you guys. He had basically one axe. Or there was one axe in this village. And so Frank, he kind of went blade style on it, and he picks this up and he's like, do you guys need this? And the village was like, we only have one axe. We need our axe. And the translator went back. He's like, okay, I'll bring it back, no problem. Frank built their village. I'm sure, like, if he broke it, he would just get him another axe. But he's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this axe, and there's a tree over there, and we're going to take turns trying to throw the axe into the tree, and whoever gets it stuck in it gets to choose any one of, the 25 of us, all our investor selves, and they have to go all the way down to a latrine. Okay, now I don't know if you know what a latrine is, but it's a toilet, you guys. It's a toilet. Now, they had basically built this maybe like 8 feet by 8 feet latrine, and it had never been used, so it was said, right? I do not believe it was used, okay? But 8 foot by 8 foot, and then it's like 30 feet down, or at least 25. It's way, way, way down there. And so Frank was like, hey, it's never been used. I'm gonna make, whoever throws the axe and gets it stuck in the tree, you're going down to the bottom of the tree. And it was really funny, right? And there was this one investor. His name is Jordan, and he, man, what a good personality on this guy. He's very confident, and he made his money quickly using credit card processing stuff in his early 20s. He was married. He was there with his wife. I became really good friends with him. And, he was kind of mocking Frank the entire time with this whole thing. Now, I threw the axe a few times, and I didn't even hit the tree. I just missed the whole thing. And welcome back. How are you? I'm doing well. Doing really well. Man, oh, man. So guess who gets it in the tree, you guys? Guess who gets it in the tree? Frank McKinney right there. Nails that sucker. It is lodged in there. He is cracking up. This is a picture I just took on my phone. It's like, man, this is, you can see his expression. He's just having a good time. This is a great example, you guys, of who to become in your life, if ever we can strive so high. Multi-millionaire, but has built 10,000 homes for Haitians. Just absolutely incredible guy. He has run ultra marathons. Badwater is the most severe of the ultra marathons in the world. It's about 180, wait, is it 180? 137 maybe? I can't remember the exact number, of miles in the desert. And it takes days, running through day, running through night, and he has finished it more than once. Like, it's just, he's got his family that he loves. He's a great guy. Okay, now the story gets even better, you guys. So here's how it goes. This is hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious to me. Okay, so Frank gets it in. He chooses Jordan. He says, Jordan, you've got to go down to the bottom of the tree, right? Now, Jordan is like, I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. And Frank McKinney is like, all right, here are your options. You can go to the bottom of the latrine, or you can pay $5,000 and we'll build another house for this village. Yeah, I know. Amazing to us, right? We're like, what? And Jordan's like, boom, $5,000 check, no problem. Let's build another house here. He didn't want to go to the latrine, so he gives them $5,000 so that they can build another house for the homeless. And then, you know what happens? He's allowed to nominate somebody else to go down in the latrine. Okay? Now, I feel like Jordan has kind of like an easy out here. I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? You're going to go down to the latrine. You've got this. He was holding a soccer ball, right? Because we were playing with the people in the village. We were kicking the ball around, and he was holding a soccer ball. I come up, and I smack it out of his hands. I smack it out of his hands, and it goes to the bottom of the latrine. Okay? And Jordan is just like, you're going down, dude. I nominate you. You're going to the bottom of the latrine. Frank McKinney, sign me up for that 5,000. Evan's going in. And I'm like, okay. That was, yeah, not really well thought out. Whoops. So, you guys, interestingly enough, these guys are, pretty athletic, and by the time I was going to go down there and get the soccer ball, I'm still sizing up the latrine and my approach down. By the time that one of these kids literally scaled down the wall somehow, they like lizard man down, grabbed the soccer ball, threw it out, and kept playing, and I'm still kind of over this whole circle like, okay, how am I even going to get down? Well, there was this ladder that was stretched over the pit, you guys. And this ladder, I was like, maybe I can actually, I can hang down here, and I could probably, I could hang off of this ladder right here, and then there was another ladder. You can't even see it. The ladder went halfway up this pit. So I had to hang down from this thing. I had other friends hold it, and then I would just hang down, and I had to like land on the ladder while still holding onto the walls. It sucked, basically. But I didn't die. And this is me taking a picture. That's Frank, obviously. From the bottom, I'm taking a picture up at the bottom of the latrine in Haiti, you guys, on my trip down there. Like, things I get into, honestly. Like, come on. And so, he wants to take a picture of me on my phone, so I throw it up to him. And that's the ladder I literally had to hang down and, like, fall onto. That was literally right here. You just can't see it because it's that far. And so, he's holding it way, way down. He's leaning over the pit. And down there, I did find some lizards. It was cool. I didn't pick them up, though. So, there you go, guys. Funny story. So this is the ribbon cutting when we officially opened this village, when it was done, and passed off the keys to people. It's pretty cool. Here's somebody I met. He had a hat just like one of my friends that I worked with. It's like, oh, I got to get a picture. He reminded me, actually, Bowtie Jones. Bowtie Jones, you know the soundbite. Bowtie Jones always wears a fedora, and I was like, yes, I found the Haitian Bowtie Jones. This is awesome. So, I smiled, and I, held my arm around him and stuff. And a lot of them actually haven't seen that many cameras. And so when they would actually see an image of themselves on a camera, it was magical to them. They were, poking it, and just, they were so amazed. It was really just an amazing experience for everyone. This was the view, you guys. This was the view. Haiti is a beautiful, beautiful place if you're looking out into the ocean. A lot of the areas are very much destroyed, but it is tropical. On the other side of the island is the Dominican Republic, you guys. And I don't know if you know too much about the Dominican Republic. When I was over at Swerve's channel, one of my friends didn't really even know where Haiti was, which is fine. But basically, you've got an island, okay, in the Caribbean, right? We've got an island. Now, half of it is controlled by the Dominican Republic. I'm doing very well, thanks. Half is Dominican Republic. Now, if Haitians cross the line, they're killed. They're killed. They cannot go over there. It is, that is their country, and there is no going over. If you're a Haitian, if you're American, you go wherever. It's, it's fine. But generally, when you're in Haiti, you do oftentimes need guards because there are a lot of dangerous areas. These are excellent, great people, but of course there are dangerous places and bad people in every part of the world, and Haiti is definitely no exception to that. So the Haitians could not cross over. The Dominican Republic is a lush rainforest if you look at it from the aerial view. However, if you actually just look at it, the Dominican Republic is a lush rainforest. If you look at the Haitian side, it's actually completely brown and like desolate from the air. And you're like, what happened? Well, what happened is, it is the poorest country. They cut down almost all of their trees. You guys, we've got a couple of them here, but if you look at the hills and the mountains, almost all the trees are actually just cut down and removed. And the reason they do that is because they bury the wood. They bury the wood and they light fires over it, and it creates charcoal. This is how you dry out wood and you create the product charcoal, which is the biggest export of Haiti. So, they aren't thinking so much long-term rainforest preservation or, preventing mudslides, which happen all the time and wipe out villages, which if they kept the trees there, that would actually prevent. It's one of the things trees do on these muddy mountains. They hold them together. But they're not thinking about that. They're thinking, I can get enough money to feed my family because they're dying, you guys. So they cut down their trees and they create charcoal. And this is more of the charcoal district. You can see all of this was charcoal. It's very strict. Dominican Republic. Don't mess with Haiti at all. It's crazy how bad it is. It is, man. It really is. Yeah, you're right. Now, this is an amazing part, you guys. On our trip down there, Frank basically said, I'm going to go down to the charcoal district. Does anyone want to go? And most of the people there, I was the youngest, I believe. Most of the people there were in their 40s and 50s, and some middle-aged women, things like that. And people were tired after being out in the hot sun all day and going to these villages and hang out with orphans and stuff. And so they would just relax and stuff. But a few of us said, okay, yeah, let's go down to the charcoal district. So we went down there. And this was really completely crazy. At first, I couldn't really see very many people because they were very much like they were just sitting on these piles. And, a few of them were in the doors, but they were all here. But I didn't see them at all. And it wasn't until Frank, you guys, the amazing extrovert, let me tell you, just decided that he was going to make this kind of fun, It's almost like some giant international charity should raise millions of dollars to help these people. Hundreds of millions. Yeah, well, Frank has definitely done, man, a great job getting closer to that. Well, there were a couple kids, you guys. And so Frank finds a tennis ball. He finds a tennis ball, and, he holds it up, and he tosses it to them. And we can't speak their language. We had a translator there. But, the kids would look at it, and they would just, be like, what's happening? And Frank would get it again, and then he'd toss it to me. And, I would get it, and I'd toss it back to him. And then he'd toss it again to, one of these kids. And the kids would look at it, and he'd, push it back to us, right? And then Frank would then throw it, and then a couple kids jumped in the ocean. And at that point, Frank, he's waving his hands, and he's he's showing that he's going to throw it. And now there's 3-4 kids out in the ocean, and he throws it way as far as he can out in the ocean, and I get it right. That is a tennis ball at the tip of his fingertips, right there. And I just amazingly grabbed the perfect shot of him releasing this ball in the air, and you can't see it, but over here is the ocean, and there's a whole bunch of people in there. You guys know how most of us have played where somebody is throwing the ball on the edge of the pool, and everybody tries to get it and stuff. And even though I think maybe our translator wasn't there at that point, but even though we couldn't really communicate it at all, we found a way to just bridge the communication barriers. Frank did it, Oh man, and it was great. And people actually just started coming out of their homes and out of their houses. And even though I didn't see anybody earlier, there were actually about 30 or 40 people. And we would throw the ball, into the ocean. We'd throw it over here. And, obviously nobody cared about getting dirty. They'd catch the wet ocean ball and just shrug it off and keep playing. And it was kind of fun. One thing that surprised me is how many nice shirts there were, actually. There were a lot of polo shirts. Let me see if I can... that's releasing the axe in the tree. There were a lot of polo shirts, and that's because those came down from Goodwill. And I mean, more than half of the shirts that I saw were polos. Really, really surprising, really interesting. We don't even see that many polos here in America, but they had really nice shirts. They were dirty, of course, but they often were dressed well. See, here's a polo on this guy. That's a picture of the hotel. It was pretty cool considering, the state in which everything was in. And this is interesting. Look at these. See these shoes here? This is somebody's business. What we found out from the locals, the translators, is that people would basically stay by the airports, steal people's shoes. They would go into their bags and they would find shoes and they would steal them and they would sell them. And selling these shoes was basically how this gentleman here made his living, selling shoes. And you saw these all over the place. You just saw these shoe stands every 30 or 50 feet. It was absolutely crazy. Time police. Thanks, man. I've had some crazy journeys in life, and like it was my privilege to be able to go down there and do this. Look at this, guys. This is nuts. My family sends a lot of clothes to Haiti every year. That's cool, man. It's really cool. This is a taxi. This is a taxi, you guys. And they all looked like this. This is how the taxis were identified. Is that not amazing? This blew me away. This blew everybody away when we saw this. But this is literally how you identify what a taxi is. They've got all these super bright colors, and they've got like a carnival on the back of their truck. And look at the windshield, you guys. Look at this windshield. Winnie, yes, you did. Yep, that's how they all are. Yeah, yeah. They have the windshield so painted that you can only see out of the tiniest sliver, you guys. Can you imagine something like this going down the road in America? No, no, you can't. They would drive on the wrong side of the road. They didn't really care. They would just, move these vehicles. And these were pretty common too. You would see a lot of these taxis, and it blew me away. It totally did. So this is the orphanage again. This is Scott. He was he built this whole thing over many years being in there. Here's our translator. Oh man, nice guy. And is that the first picture? Yeah. Okay. So we're back now. I have a lot more pictures than that. I've probably got an extra 100 or more pictures. But, they didn't all make it to Facebook. There's only so many that I wanted to put on Facebook. But, yeah, just a few more things about that. We had a security team because, like I said, you did need it. And one of the things, the mood got very, very calm, very eerie almost, and very scary the night before we went down to Haiti. We all had dinner at Frank's house in Florida. And keep in mind, we were all there because we were real estate investors that wanted to take a part of what we've, been able to acquire and then give to others. So, in our final dinner in America, we were living it up. We were in Frank's mansion, and the dinner was fantastic, and it was the night before the flight, and we had a very high standard of living in that particular evening. And Frank brings up the point. He says, this is going to be the hardest thing that you're ever going to have to do. But we're going to go down there, and we're going to give toys to the orphans inside the orphanage, and we're going to teach them how to build homes, and we're going to pay for those. And those homes are going to be given to the homeless, which the local churches will help us find those that need. But if you are out in the streets anywhere, you cannot give people anything. And we're all kind of like, wait, why? We're going down there to give. Of course, we want to give. And why wouldn't we? And he said last year there was we were down in the charcoal district, and we had our bus, and right before everybody got on the bus, they understand if you are visiting and you walk through areas and you see and you leave. But as soon as you give anything, it's almost as if you activate like a fight or flight reflex in the whole community of needing to get more. And it has gotten to the point, this was not with the charity that I went down, but it has happened in the past where people go down, they give money, they give food, and they're stripped of their clothes and then killed. And sometimes eaten. Quite literally. It's absolutely the poorest country in the world. They're as desperate as it gets. They're starving. And it's dangerous, even for those that want to help. And that's why the missions that Frank was on never went to Haiti. And Frank was like, I'm going to the poorest country in the world. I'm going to set it up. And so he did this. And so he's warning us to not give people anything. And outside of the controlled environments, we had our security guards. We had quite a few people there with guns and things like that we were ready, because I'm telling you, it was no joke. The danger was real. They're great people. There's still danger in it. Oh man! And there was a time where Frank was telling us on one of his previous trips that at the charcoal district, somebody had just literally like a couple crackers from lunch and gave them to somebody before he got on the bus, and he was then stopped. He was stopped before he could get on the bus, and they, wanted more and things like that. And he barely got on the bus. There were so many people around it, like literally mobs of people, that the bus couldn't actually move at that point. And I don't know how eventually they got out. They just started moving the bus until people left. But it does get pretty scary. Yeah, no, that's definitely something you don't want to do. Yeah, I mean, Swerve is Haitian, and he realizes he's born in America, but these are his people. And yeah, when you get to see, I'm glad you got to hear some of these stories. The other thing is when we had to actually leave eventually, when everything was done, we had to leave for the airport at it was before 4 a.m. Before 4 a.m. because what happens is on the main roads to airports, there are people with guns that will literally just highway rob you. Absolutely. Just right out of whatever movies or TV shows, you take your pick. They will just be in the road with guns, and then as soon as you stop, there's people behind you, and everything is lost, Maybe I don't know what happens to the people, but, things get completely taken. So we had to leave for the airport when it was absolutely pitch black, like I said, before 4 a.m. on the final day. One of the things that always stuck with me, and it was scary, it really was, on the sides of the roads, even at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and it was completely pitch black, there were tons of people, tons of them, on the sides of the roads, sitting there, just looking out. And as we're driving down, you would see like the glimmers of light in people's eyes. And you would just keep seeing them. And some were standing and some were sitting on the road. And they'd just be looking at the road. Like hundreds and hundreds. And across the whole, multiple hour trip to the airport, probably thousands. And we all wonder, like, what on earth are they doing? But it's because, it's not a horror movie. It's not a menacing thing. It is just that it's their lifestyle that generally when something passes on the road, that is the most interesting thing going on. We sit and we play computer games on the internet, and they come out of their homes when they hear a rumbling in the far distance, and they look out and they, will see the car pass. And, that's their form of interesting event that occurs in that day. And it was a very, very scary and eerie experience in some senses. And one of the other things is that every 100 feet, there was a lottery. There was a lottery, you guys, and they matched the Powerball numbers in America. And whenever they would get like some kind of newspaper in the main airports and things, they would know what the numbers were, and people would take bets and they would put them in these lottery things, and they would basically see if they won a fortune, right? And these lotteries were not scarce. I mean, 50 feet, 100 feet, and they looked like a miniature porta potty. It was like a little structure built of maybe a plywood piece and then like a tire on the roof and maybe some metal siding and things like that, and they would just have a giant sign that said lottery. And that's how almost everybody who made any amount of money, that's where they put it all the time. They just kept putting it in these lotteries, and that was one of the main facets of society. And a totally different aspect of that, we were crossing this bridge once, and all of us were white, and all of them are black. And as we're going through in this tour bus, it was very much like we were zoo animals to them, because there weren't, if you've been to Haiti, there really aren't that many white people at all. We're an extreme minority and a curiosity to them. So now we're in, a nice bus, and there's 20 of us, and as we're going through the roads, everybody is they're just watching, they're just looking. And I don't have these pictures on Facebook, but I'm just remembering, we went through a section of money changers. And I'm telling you, obviously we don't see any of this in America, but these are people that are holding, I don't know, hundreds of dollars, maybe even $1,000 or something. But they've got a giant stack of cash, okay? Giant stack of cash, and they're just flipping it, right? And, weird thing to see in the poorest country in the world. Well, apparently these are the currency exchangers of the country. And they're kind of out in the middle of, it would basically be an environment, like a road environment. something like this, you would just see him. And there's this narrow bridge. I just remember we're taking our bus through. It's super slow. You got bikes, you got carts, you got some animals on the road, and you got people just flipping like these. There weren't many of them, but there were definitely a couple with a lot of money. And the translator was explaining that those were the money changers, and they literally had like 3 months lifespan in that position until they were shot, killed, and then somebody else replaced them. And it was pretty crazy. But yeah, guys, I saw some crazy things. It's been insane. Yeah, it's Frank McKinney's Caring House project. Oh man, it was an absolutely life-changing experience. More than I expected. You know, I expected to go down there and be impacted and be able. I was fortunate enough to be able to, give and things like that. But it was amazing. It definitely changed my life. So really cool, Swerve, to know, dude, that you're Haitian, and man, oh man, Swerve and I were friends anyway. He's a very upbeat streamer. Just got started streaming Black Desert. He and I became friends pretty quickly, and then found out he's Haitian. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. I went down there to help out, and we got in this conversation. His stream earlier, I said, yeah, I'll show you my photo album, and I'll go over some stories and stuff. So I wanted to share that with you guys. That was probably about 6+ years ago. Corrosion has also gone down to Haiti, so he and I both went down with Frank McKinney. So they invited me again this year, but I told them I wasn't in the position to be able to do that. But they're still doing work down there, so it's good stuff. You can just Google Frank McKinney, and then he's got his website, and you can see his Caring House project. It's pretty easy to find if you guys are interested in it. But yeah, guys, I wanted to share that with you. Good stuff. Like I said, a little bit different than our normal streams and our normal experiences gaming, right? But interesting part of my life that I'm glad I had.